going on, everyone? This is Matt, Squeaky Clean Air. Today we're going to be bagging on A5 B8, and I'm going to share some tricks with you, and stay tuned. Okay, here it is. I already started working on the front end. I like to take everything apart. I never crack these. Never crack these. Ever. I always remove the upper end links from the actual chassis. I never crack these. If you break this, as I mentioned in previous videos, if you break this, you're gonna have to get this whole spindle. Good luck with that. We're getting in the pandemic. We're in the pandemic. It's really hard to get parts these days, so don't bother. This is super simple. It's a 16 mil all around here. There's a screw that goes through here. Whatever, make sure you support everything. Using a stand. I have a hoist, obviously, or I have a lift, so it's easy for me to do installations. It's not a problem. So basically, loosen the end links. Bada bing, bada boom. In order to loosen the end links, of course, you guys got to remove this plastic cover that's there, this doohickey. That'll give you access to this bolt from back here. So that's super easy to remove. End links, upper control arms. Then you can, this is an A5, so it has the adaptive right control. So you got to remove the drive or the light sensor that's here on both sides. So we have to remove that. This is a 7, and I believe this is a 10. So once that's removed, because you're going to be dropping the lower control arm, you don't want to drop it with the sensor and destroy it. So it's a good idea to remove that. So remove that, then remove the bolt that holds the lower fork, and then use a spreader, fork spreader, which I recommend. I'll show you guys in a second, in order to remove the lower yoke from the actual strut. Now keep in mind that there's two sizes for these, 50 mil and 55 mil. The ones that have the adaptive shocks, which is what this has, is 55 mil. The ones that don't have are 50 mil. So keep that in mind. All right, so very simple tool. I love this thing. Okay, and the way it works is, 90% of Euros have these stupid forks in the front. That's just the design of it. BMWs, Audis, VWs, they all do. So the way it works is you need to get yourself one of these spreaders, one of these doohickeys. And the way it works is you have a flat piece over here, as you guys can see, and then as you spin it, you put it in like that, in between. Right, let's zoom in. And then as you spin it, it spreads. A very simple principle. All right, I'll show you guys in a second. So take this. For those that are not familiar, it's designed to sort of slide in here on the side like this. Obviously, it's easier when you have the actual shock in here. But anyways, you guys will put it in here like that, and as you're spinning it, it spreads the fork. In this case, obviously it's harder because there is no shock in there, and I'm doing it with one hand, but the idea behind it is you guys want see, there you go. And then as you guys are spinning it, see how it spreads it? Because it twists, bang, and it gives you enough clearance to wiggle out the shock. And then when you guys wiggle out the shock, that's how you guys are able to remove the shock. So this is a pain in the ass when it comes to any kind of Euro cars, BMWs, Audis, but it's not a pain in the ass if you use the right tools. So definitely, guys, get yourself one of these, because you will need it. It is called the Euro strut spreader or anything like that. Mine came in a kit. It has all sort of like different types of ends and connections, and these funky ends right here that all the Euros use. But mine came part of a kit. It's a 1/2 inch DR round bit. That's what it's called. And it's a lifesaver, especially if you're working on Euros. So yeah, so we got the front end off. Just about to lower down the car and remove basically the shock with the upper mount. I don't remember whether this one has a camber plate on top or it's accessible from the top, or do I have to remove the whole bracket? Some of them you have to remove the whole bracket, some of them you don't. We'll find out in a minute. The adaptive connector, he's going to have to get a canceller kit unless they can code it out in the software. That's a possibility as well. Some the BMWs, you could do that. Not sure for the Audis, but he'll have to figure that out. Or we're just going to get some KW cancelers in order to get rid of any codes. Took the wire, put it across here, and covered up the connector for now with some tape, so it doesn't get any elements in there. But so far so good. This is the front. We're gonna put in the new air struts in the front. We're gonna do the same thing for the rear, and then we're gonna start running the lines. And then once we have the lines, we'll be able to use static air, which means we'll be able to put inflator valves and be able to move it around and see how it sits. And then we'll be able to do any adjustments before we proceed in doing the wiring and the trunk. But so far so good, and we'll go on to the next video as soon as we complete it. All right, so for the S5, you got to remove this little ring that's in here. So basically cut it off, top it all out. That leaves you a nice upper mount. And then this will adhere to the top of the upper mount right here, which is nice and snug. And then I've already marked 4 holes over here for the retainer ring, which is over here on top. And then that will screw in, and that will basically fuse the air strut with the upper mount. And that's going to be your full upper mount with the air strut. Okay. So we're doing the backs now. For the backs on the A5, the A5 Audi, the B8 chassis, what you need to do is you don't really remove any control arms. Well, you do actually, unless you, depending on the spring compressor that you guys have, because what happens is the spring seats in that little hole over here, which is approximately over here. So what most guys do is, if you don't have a spring compressor, you can lower down the subframe. So 1 bolt here, and then there's 1 bolt underneath the plastic casing over there, which if you remove the plastic casing, you'll see the other bolt that goes up through there. You're able to sort of lower them, and then this whole arm will come down, and then you guys are able to remove the spring. In our case, this guy was running, my friend was running, my friend Dill is running H&R springs. So the springs already are shorter, so they don't really require a spring compressor. So what you do is I lower down the rear subframe here and through there as well. That allowed me to get enough clearance in order just to wiggle it out with a pry bar, which is what I ended up doing. The removal of the shock is super easy. Right underneath there's 2 bolts. After you've disconnected, obviously, the dampness adjustability or the right control, which he has, then you guys are able to basically wiggle out the spring. I still have to do it on the other side. I haven't done that yet. But when you guys are going to be installing any kind of bag, you got to make sure that any rubber sort of housings or anything like that, or anything that would normally house the spring, is removed. Because the majority of the mounts are metal to metal, and then metal to rubber, and then rubber in between to metal, right? So a lot of the air suspension systems out there, regardless which one you go with, obviously we use Squeaky Clean Air for us, so you guys can hit us up on Instagram at Squeaky Clean Air. We got tons of different air suspension solutions. Our system obviously has a direct fit spring or air spring, which I'm going to show you guys in a minute once I install it. But you don't need any rubber isolators that you normally would have with OEM springs or aftermarket springs. You remove all that, and you basically mount up the metal brackets. You mount them together, put it in there, and then the cushion that normally you would have with the rubber isolators obviously is done with the air spring. And then we're gonna put the shock in, and bada bing bada boom with this. A little bit in regards to switching over the shocks. So obviously the factory shocks are super long, but what you guys have to do as a tip, when you guys are installing any kind of coilovers, when you guys are installing any kind of air suspension, you got to try to make the strut or the air shock or the shock part of a separated system as close to the length as the factory shocks. And the reason why you want to do that is for 2 reasons. One, it'll be easier for you to put it in. You don't have to preload, or you don't have to jack up the factory suspension up just in order to make the fitment, because if this is shorter, obviously some of the arms are going to sit lower. You guys are going to have to jack them up in order to fit and put the bolts through. So that's one reason. And another reason is because it will ride the best. And then once it's on the car, once it sort of matches as close as possible to the length of the rear shock, you guys are able to make the adjustments and bring it down slowly by about inch intervals. Go for a ride. If the car airs out enough and you have really good ride quality, then you're done. But make really subtle adjustments with these in order to make sure that your car has the appropriate shock travel. Because if you guys just take these, thread them all the way in thinking you guys are going to get maximum drop, no, you guys are not going to get any shock travel. It's going to ride like shit and it's going to be super bouncy. Remember that. I keep stressing that. But yeah, we're going to do that. So you remove the factory upper mount and it just slides over here with a retention bowl, and we're ready to put this one in. And we're going to put the other one, and we're going to put the air springs, and that's pretty much all she wrote for the rear. Then we're going to run the lines. Stay tuned.